Earlier this year, we reported a story we called D for Disgrace. It exposed shocking initiation rituals, out-of-control drunken behaviour and, most disturbing, sexual assaults at university residential colleges around Australia. The story singled out the supposedly prestigious St Mark's College in Adelaide for allowing its students to run amok. Following our broadcast, the hierarchy of St Mark's accused us of distorting the truth and misleading the public. And to a point, they're right. The D mark we gave was too generous. Tonight you'll see why it should really be an F. A naked male student gives a female staff member a lap dance, egged on by his cheering peers. Lewd sex acts, girls slut-shamed, students vomiting out of windows, or passed out drunk in the hallway. Welcome to St Mark's Residential College at Adelaide University. These days, more a den of debauchery than a beacon of scholarly excellence.
It's a toxic culture, it's rotten to the core.
Fed up with both St Mark's and the university for their failure to rein in this appalling behaviour.
The motion I want to move tonight is condemning the university and saying it's not good enough.
It's been left to Adelaide Uni's Student Representative Council to provide some leadership.
That's the motion that I put to council.
Led by President Matthew Bowie, they've had enough of the degrading and barbaric acts inflicted on their fellow students.
All in favour? Motion carried unanimously.
But its conduct not confined to St Mark's. Across Australia, students are seething. Sick of the out-of-control drinking, bullying and serious sexual assaults of these supposedly prestigious colleges. Is there a groundswell of support for change right now?
There is. People are angry, people are pissed off. People want to see actual change happen.
He didn't even look at my face. He was pretty violent with it. And then when he left, I just felt so disgusting within myself. I felt terrible.
We'll call her Elizabeth, a recent resident of St Mark's College. On her very first night there, she says she was assaulted in her room and forced to have sex with a third-year student. Who did you blame for that?
I blamed myself for not shoving him off, for not pushing him out the door, but I was so confused from the sex tour. I was in a state where I didn't know who to blame, what to think.
This incident occurred after a day of alcohol-fuelled initiation rituals, which culminated in a confronting sex tour of the college.
There were literally couples. It appeared to me they were having sex, and there were girls on the table. I think there were 3 girls right in the middle of the library with their tops off, and porn on the big screen. And this was hardcore porn. And it had boys with their hands down their pants, looking like they were masturbating. I'd never seen someone masturbate, so that in itself was just another thing on top of everything else.
They had porn playing on the TV and guys that were butt naked walking around.
We first reported what was going on behind the closed doors of St Mark's College in March. Back then, 18-year-old Aria Kerwin bravely told us about the trauma of her 2018 initiation week, which also included a so-called sex tour. But worse for her, she was forced to undress for older male students.
Some of us girls were saying, no, we don't want to do that. And I felt so intimidated because they were older, bigger, they'd been drinking. You know, I'm a 5'2" 18-year-old. You know, what am I going to be able to say to them that is going to make them stop? So I just thought I just need to do it.
After Aria's story, we were inundated with more complaints. Allegations of sexual assaults, as well as damning evidence supporting the claims. Almost 200 explicit photographs and videos taken inside St Mark's. But despite this proof of a toxic culture, current and former residents of the college turned on Aria.
It seems to me she just wasn't willing to participate.
Her story is exactly that, a story.
If you want to know the truth, speak to someone who was there longer than 3 days.
What a day we live in where outright lies can be passed off as journalism. Sorry, Mum, but fake news.
Even St Mark's leadership, including College Master Rose Olwen, who is also president of the National Association of Colleges, and St Mark's chairman Richard Birchnell, joined the chorus against Aria Kerwin and 60 Minutes, saying we
gave viewers a very distorted, misleading and sensationalised picture of St Mark's, alleging that a toxic culture exists here, something we completely reject.
What has the response been to Aria's allegations?
She's been trolled by current students, former students, and old collegians who are adults in their 50s.
You've got 50-year-olds who are trolling an 18-year-old girl online.
Yep.
So rather than be applauded, she was vilified.
She was. She was vilified. Her parents were vilified. It's a toxic reaction to a toxic problem.
Shana Bremner runs an organisation called End Rape on Campus. She says Aria Kerwin's decision to go public about St Mark's has emboldened others to come forward, describing serious bullying and in some cases sexual assault at the college, fostered by its so-called traditions.
We've heard from a student who was found really incredibly drunk, almost to the point of being passed out in the shower one night. She was carried into her room by a male student. He shut the door. He had sex with her while she was basically unconscious, and while up to half a dozen other students stood outside the door chanting her name.
In anyone's eyes, that's rape.
It is rape. If somebody is not conscious and can't give consent, it's absolutely rape.
Coming up, more deception, more victims.
I was stripped down to my bra and underpants. The photo showed the group of men crowded around me.
The horrific culture lurking behind college walls.
It's basically like an aristocratic cult. You're either the bottom person or the top person. You're either to be killed or to kill.
That's next on 60 Minutes.
I never thought I would be the victim of sexual assault living at such a prestigious college.
Jenny, as we'll call her, was too scared to be interviewed, fearing retribution if her identity is revealed. Both her father and grandfather attended St Mark's College at Adelaide University and support its hazing traditions.
I wish I could tell my family why I left after only 1 year. I wish they could know that I cried myself to sleep so many nights.
Instead of sitting down with us, Jenny has written and signed a statement detailing her assault and has asked us to broadcast it.
I know what happened to me was not an isolated case. Others have been subjected to similar experiences, or at least treated as a piece of meat for the men to play around with.
Jenny describes a dangerous drinking culture at St Mark's, as the almost 200 photos and videos we've obtained prove. And what she awoke to one morning after passing out drunk will stay with her forever.
My friend showed me photos a group of men had taken of me. I was stripped down to my bra and underpants. The photo showed the group of men crowded around me and touching me on different parts of my body. One of them was propping me up under my arms, and another was pretending to sniff my hair. Another man had his hands on my breasts.
He was extremely drunk and he wanted to talk, so I stood outside of his unit and he grabbed me and pulled me into his room, slamming the door, standing between me and the door. And I, the next day, had bruises.
Elizabeth is another former student of St Mark's. She alleges she was sexually assaulted numerous times in her first year.
He knew that he'd done something wrong and he came to talk to me and he said, "Oh, I hope you don't go to the police." And I said, "Oh, well, that thought didn't even cross my mind because nobody had talked to me about my options."
Did you raise any of your concerns with the college?
I did. I told at the end of the year that I had experienced sexual assault and that it had really impacted me. And she said that it's all part of growing up. That's what she told me.
To be clear, the person she spoke to was not College Master Rose Alwyn.
If I had reported it, I would have lost my friends. Everyone on my floor would have known me as the girl who got someone expelled or the girl who lied for attention. This is the culture of the college. So I stayed and tried to forget about it. One whole year I kept up the act. It hurt every single day to pretend.
These are institutions that have long histories of covering up abuse.
Is it possible that all these people who've come to us, who've come to you, are lying?
No. They can't all have the same stories. It's not a coincidence. It's a systemic cultural issue.
Shana Bremner runs the support group End Rape on campus. In February, they released the Red Zone report, which details disturbing incidents of alleged abuse at university colleges around the country.
To flat out deny that this goes on is a lie. It's a blatant lie. For them to turn around and say none of this happened, or for the students to say this didn't happen because it didn't happen to me, is crap. You know, I've never personally had cancer. That doesn't mean that everybody sitting in an oncology ward is a liar.
St Mark's is supposed to be one of the leading residential colleges in the country. It boasts doctors, lawyers and politicians among its past students. 3 months ago, when we first reported the ritual hazing at the college, we attempted to speak with College Master Rose Alwyn.
Rose, can you come out of your office?
Now, with our new evidence and testimony of victims, we again requested interviews with Miss Alwyn and St Mark's chairman, Richard Birchnell. Both again refused.
Miss Alwyn and I decline your request for an interview.
I think that 2013 for St Mark's was a really challenging year.
But in February, Rose Alwyn did speak to ABC Radio, admitting there had been a toxic culture at her college for 1 year in 2013.
There was a toxic culture, and I'm really pleased to say that we've worked with students in ensuring that that does not exist in this college today.
Miss Alwyn's admission of a rogue, bad year was prompted by this, an obscene magazine published at St Mark's in 2013. It had been given to arriving first-year students, or freshers, as an introduction to the college and its senior student residents.
You fresher girls quiver as he rams his hard up into your liver. And while you lie yelping and bleeding in pain, you find yourself shouting and screaming his name.
The OMAG, as it's called, is vile, sexually degrading, and meant to be secret.
Do not show anyone outside of college this OMAG. Anyone caught breaking these rules will be in more shit than you could ever imagine.
And this is what Rose Alwyn, who has been both Dean and Master of St Mark's over the last 15 years, had to say of that 2013 OMAG.
Well, I think that the contents of the 2013 OMAG are abhorrent. They are deplorable, and they certainly speak against the values of the college and everything that the college has worked so hard for in its 93-year history. And they actually make me feel quite ill.
It seems that Mark's only reacts when it's caught out. When this 2013 O Week magazine came to light last year, Rose Alwyn called it abhorrent, disgusting, and something that was now dead and buried. There was no public acknowledgement by the college that this was part of a pattern. Well, it is. Just a few weeks ago, we received an almost identical magazine, printed 2 years later in 2015. Again, it's obscene. And like in 2013, it was given out to the students in their first days at St Mark's.
It'll f*** you so hard you'll be left with amnesia.
I was assured that there was no OMAG after 2013. And what do we have here? One from 2015. So everything they've said about cleaning up the culture, all this great stuff they do during O Week, it's just a lie. It's a complete lie. And this proves it.
Coming up, what is going on inside the walls of this college?
You feel like you have to stay. No, it's depressing and abusive.
Failed attempts to fix a toxic culture. What came of all this effort and investigation? Precisely nothing. Now, the student uprising.
I felt cheated.
Demanding change.
We don't believe it's okay.
You've had enough.
We've had enough.
That's next on 60 Minutes.
In 2015, 2 years later, this was found out. It's still going on.
For Adelaide University Student Representative Council, led by President Matthew Bowie, enough is now enough. Outraged by the publication of yet another St Mark's College obscene magazine.
You look at this, and it's the same content. We've got disgusting poems, we've got the whole lot, and it's just disgraceful.
For Matthew and fellow councillors Olivia Savas and Talia Penn, the O Week magazine is black and white proof St Mark's culture is deeply entrenched and unchanging.
Things to do at college, there's a list of 35 things here. Number 24, make a sex video using the CCTV camera in the late meals room.
It's basically like an aristocratic cult. Like you're either the bottom person or the top person. You're either to be killed or to kill. You can't, there's like no in between.
But to be clear, a lot of students go to St Mark's College and have an amazing time.
Or so they say.
They've been brainwashed.
What is going on inside the walls of this college?
The people at St Mark's become your family, an abusive family, where you have a case of Stockholm syndrome, where you feel like you have to stay and you have to be there and you have to be involved, even though it's depressing and abusive.
It is experiences like Elizabeth's that has the SRC fuming. They see it as their job to protect all students, something they don't feel St Mark's or the university is doing. Do you think this damages the reputation of your university?
I almost hope so. I almost wouldn't mind. If that puts the university in a place or they feel like, you know, they lose numbers, then good. It shows them that they haven't done enough.
We represent 21,000 students, and a fair chunk of those are at St Mark's, and we will be representing them and advocating for their welfare, and we're not going to stop doing it. We're here to stay.
If you needed any proof as to why students at Adelaide University are pushing for direct and immediate action against St Mark's and other residential colleges, it's in the university's last failed attempt to deal with the issue. Last year, the university established a task force to tackle sexual harassment and assault on campus and in the colleges. Victim stories were shared, cases compiled, and St Mark's master, Rose Alwyn, was questioned. And what came of all this effort and investigation? Precisely nothing.
Whilst at the time it felt like we had a chance to get something done, by the time it had wrapped up, it was very clear to us that we weren't there to do things, we were there to look like we were doing things.
Declan Price-Brooks and National Union of Students President Mark Pace were on the University of Adelaide's Respect Now Always task force last year. Is that disappointing that here was an opportunity for real change and it didn't happen?
Definitely. I felt cheated. I felt as though the university had wasted their first good opportunity in generations to start to solve these problems. They elected not to use that opportunity. It was devastating to us.
Have previous student councils been aware of issues within these residential colleges?
Definitely. This has been something that student representatives have known for decades now. I met someone who said that their parents had raised this issue at campus and that their parents' parents, their grandparents, said that this was an issue when they were studying at the university.
I wish much luck to Matt and the other members of the current SRC and hope that they can succeed where we failed.
You feel like you failed?
I feel like we were put in a position where success was impossible, where despite all our best efforts, we failed to solve the problem.
With the majority of students at St Mark's enrolled at Adelaide University, we approached the Vice-Chancellor, Peter Rathjen. He also refused to talk to us. However, he did meet SRC President Matt Bowie. Did you walk away from that meeting with the Vice-Chancellor feeling like this was something that was going to be taken seriously and would be tackled?
Absolutely not. I was told St Mark's has had a very, very rich tradition of being affiliated with the university, and this is not something they're going to be touching, and they'll be leaving it to Rose Alwyn to be dealing with this.
I'm really angry, actually, and I want to see change.
When Aria Kerwin dared to break the code of silence in St Mark's, she was labelled a liar by past and present students. The chairman, Richard Birchnell, going so far as to say our 60 Minutes story in March
gave viewers a very distorted, misleading and sensationalised picture of St Mark's.
But just last week, an admission that Aria was telling the truth. In a letter, he accepted that
one student showed inappropriate material on a TV screen and 2 others publicly bared their backsides.
The punishment?
They are being required to undertake a 3-hour workshop on gender equity, sexual harassment and what it means to be an ethical bystander. The college has been unable to establish the veracity of one particularly serious allegation which you made and has chosen to report it to South Australian Police.
We understand that allegation to be Aria's claim that she was forced to undress for older male students.
Don't send your children to St Mark's because you have no control over what happens, and the atmosphere of secrecy stops you having any knowledge of what is actually taking place, what your child is going through. And then as a parent, you just can't offer support if you don't know what's happening.
Aria's bravery empowered Elizabeth and Jenny to speak out about the toxic culture that has existed at St Mark's for generations. They're now hoping their voices will become a chorus and that finally there will be no further victims of acts carried out in the name of tradition.
I'm not after retribution. It's been a long road, but I'm starting to heal. I just want to make sure what happened to me won't happen to anyone else. I want things to change within St Mark's. I hope by telling my story it'll be easier for the next person to come forward and share theirs. The college won't listen otherwise.
We can't make lasting change in the way that a Vice-Chancellor or in the way that Rose Alwyn can, but we can show that we have people, we have numbers, and we don't agree with what is going on there, and we don't believe it's okay.
You've had enough.
We've had enough.
Hello, I'm Allison Langdon. Thanks for watching. To keep up with the latest from 60 Minutes Australia, make sure you subscribe to our channel. You can also download the 9Now app for full episodes and other exclusive 60 Minutes content.